My daughter secretly recorded me crying on vacation. She uploaded the video, without realizing the internet would take MY's side. I was sitting on the tile floor of the beach rental laundry room, trying to cry quietly between the dryer thumps, when I heard my daughter laugh on the other side of the cracked door. I wish I could say I handled that vacation with grace from the beginning, but the truth is I was exhausted, embarrassed, and trying so hard to give my daughter one good week that I forgot I was allowed to fall apart. Kylie, my 16-year-old daughter, had my eyes and her father's timing, which meant she could find the weakest spot in a room without meaning to. She wasn't a bad kid, but she was at that age where being funny in front of a friend could matter more than being kind to the person who packed your suitcase. Sienna, her best friend, moved through life like everything was potential content, phone always ready, smile always angled toward an invisible audience. Ben, my ex-husband, wasn't at the beach house, but he might as well have been, because his missed payments had followed us there like luggage. Aunt Marla, my sister, was the person I called when I needed someone to hear the truth without making me prove I deserved sympathy. Kylie uploaded a video of me crying with a caption that made it sound like I was ruining the trip because I wanted attention. To Kylie, I think the video felt like a joke for about 10 minutes. A dramatic mom, a bad angle, a caption her friend thought was hilarious. To me, it felt like being stripped in public by the one person I had been trying hardest to protect. I didn't yell when I first saw it. I just stared at my own face on her screen and felt something inside me go very still. By breakfast, I had become a joke to strangers before my own daughter had asked why I was on the floor. I kept looking for one face in the room that would soften when it found mine. I didn't get that. I got glances, careful silences, and the faint satisfaction people show when they think the hard part is over because the person they hurt hasn't started arguing yet. The opening minutes moved slowly. Someone adjusted a sleeve. Someone checked a phone. Someone cleared their throat too many times. I watched those small gestures because I couldn't make myself look directly at the larger thing happening. The larger thing was that my life had become a story other people were trying to narrate while I sat close enough to hear them get it wrong. At first, I tried to be reasonable. I told myself there might be information I didn't have. I told myself grief, stress, money, fear, or embarrassment could make good people behave badly for a while. That excuse held for maybe 10 minutes. Then the details started forming a pattern, and the pattern wasn't accidental. The first detail was this. The video cut off before the phone call where Ben told me the support payment would be late again. I noticed it the way you notice a wrong note in a song you know by heart. Nobody else reacted, which made me wonder if I was being too sensitive. That's how manipulation works best. It doesn't always make you believe the lie. Sometimes it only makes you distrust the part of yourself that heard it. The second detail came a little later. Sienna's caption mentioned drama, but the comments kept asking what happened before the clip. It sat in the scene like a dropped thread. I wanted to tug on it, but every time I asked a careful question, someone answered a different one. They gave me explanations with all the shape of answers and none of the weight. The third detail bothered me most. Kylie avoided my eyes after the first 1,000 views. I couldn't explain why it mattered yet. I only knew that the people around me seemed to relax whenever I looked confused and tense whenever I looked focused. That was when I stopped trying to win the conversation. Conversations can be steered by whoever is most shameless. Records cannot. Timelines cannot. Small facts, gathered patiently, begin to lean toward each other until the shape becomes impossible to ignore. I went home that night with my mind still inside the room. I replayed every sentence, not because I enjoyed hurting myself, but because something in the performance had been too clean. Real life is messy. Real grief stumbles. Real fear repeats itself. What I had seen was smoother than that, and smoothness made me suspicious. The next morning, I wrote everything down in a notebook. I wrote times, names, exact phrases, the weather, the order people entered the room, and every object that had seemed out of place. It felt ridiculous until it didn't. By the third page, I had stopped writing feelings and started building a map. A map doesn't tell you the treasure on the first line. It only tells you where the ground changes. Mine changed around the things people wouldn't discuss directly. Whenever I asked about one of those things, the mood shifted. A joke appeared. A warning appeared. Someone said I was making this harder than it needed to be. That sentence became familiar. Stop making this harder. Stop asking the same question. Stop reading into things. Stop being dramatic. People love the word dramatic when accuracy would inconvenience them. Then there was the fourth detail. Aunt Marla texted me a screenshot and asked whether I wanted her to handle it or just breathe with me. That's the one I couldn't put away. I carried it through the day like a stone in my pocket. I touched it mentally during conversations, testing its edges, asking myself why such a small thing had made such a large silence around it. The answer didn't come all at once. It came in pieces, which is usually how the truth arrives when someone has tried to bury it. One piece was a date. Another was a name. Another was a document that should have been ordinary but had been handled like a secret. Another was the expression on a face when I asked the right question by accident. For a while, I was angry at myself for not seeing it sooner. Then I realized I had seen it. I had seen the shape of it in every pause and every over-explained answer. What I had lacked was proof, and proof matters when the people lying about you are good at sounding disappointed. Kylie found out the truth when the internet did something neither of us expected. People slowed the clip down, noticed the payment receipt on the dryer beside me, and started asking why a mother was crying alone while teenagers filmed her. I remember the moment with strange clarity. The room didn't spin. My hands didn't shake. Instead, everything sharpened. The edge of the table, the texture of the paper, the small movement of someone's mouth before they decided not to speak. I had been crying because Ben's late support payment had finally arrived after I used credit to pay for the trip he had promised to help with. I wasn't crying because the vacation was imperfect. I was crying because I was tired of making broken promises look seamless for my child. I learned it at the same pace the evidence allowed me to learn it. Not before. Not because a narrator whispered it in my ear. I learned it the way I had lived everything else, one unbearable fact at a time. The first feeling wasn't triumph. It was grief. There's a special kind of grief in realizing that the problem was never your imagination. All those moments when you were told to calm down, stop questioning, stop noticing, stop being difficult, weren't moments of confusion. They were moments when you were close enough to the truth to make someone nervous. After that came anger, clean and bright. I wanted to say every cruel thing I had swallowed. I wanted to replay every insult and attach it to a receipt. I wanted the people who had watched me doubt myself to feel even 10 seconds of what they had handed me so casually. But anger is a match. It gives light for a moment, and then it burns your fingers. I needed something steadier. I needed the record. I kept my voice low, asked for copies, confirmed dates, and let the facts stand where my outrage wanted to pace. That choice changed the room more than shouting would have. People prepare for shouting. They know how to call it emotion, instability, bitterness. They are less prepared for someone who has been hurt and still speaks in complete sentences with numbered evidence in front of them. The confrontation didn't happen like people imagine. Nobody gave a perfect confession. Nobody fell to their knees. The guilty people did what guilty people often do first. They argued about tone, timing, privacy, and whether the truth should have been brought up in front of everyone. That almost made me laugh. Not because anything was funny, but because they were asking for manners after treating deception like a family tradition. I had spent so long being polite that politeness had started to feel like a cage. That day, I learned there is a difference between being cruel and being clear. The comments turned against the joke. Kylie apologized, but I made her understand that apology wasn't a button that deleted humiliation. It wasn't a clean victory. Clean victories are for stories people tell after they have sanded off the splinters. Mine still had splinters. There were relationships that didn't recover, apologies that came dressed as excuses, and quiet days afterward when I wondered who I would have become if the truth had stayed hidden. The people who had misjudged me didn't all apologize. Some avoided me. Some acted like the facts were unfortunate instead of damning. Some tried to make peace by pretending we had all been equally confused. I learned to let that silence tell me what their words wouldn't. Before the worst of it happened, I still had a normal person's faith in explanations. I believed that if I asked a clear question, someone would give me a clear answer. That belief didn't disappear all at once. It wore down in small moments. A look cut short, a sentence revised halfway through, a document moved out of reach the second my eyes found it. I looked at Kylie across the breakfast table after the video went up and saw a child trying to act unbothered because she had no idea yet how badly she had hurt me. That was the hardest part. She wasn't a stranger being cruel. She was my baby, holding the knife without understanding the blade. Kylie uploaded a video of me crying with a caption that made it sound like I was ruining the trip because I wanted attention. The sentence sounded rehearsed by then. It had the polished rhythm of something repeated in kitchens, over phones, and in private conversations where I hadn't been invited. I could almost hear the missing parts around it, the little agreements people make before they bring their finished verdict to the person it hurts. I didn't answer right away because I was afraid my voice would betray me. Not betray the truth exactly, but betray how much I wanted one person to interrupt and say this had gone too far. Nobody did. The silence taught me where I stood more clearly than any accusation could have. By breakfast, I had become a joke to strangers before my own daughter had asked why I was on the floor. That thought stayed with me through the first night. I made dinner I didn't eat. I stood in the kitchen while the refrigerator hummed and let myself understand that being useful isn't the same thing as being loved. Useful people are praised while they are carrying the weight. Loved people are protected when the weight finally breaks them. The next morning, I tried to move through ordinary tasks. I rinsed a mug. I answered a message from someone who had no idea my life had shifted. I folded a shirt and unfolded it again because my hands needed something to do. All the while, the video cut off before the phone call where Ben told me the support payment would be late again kept replaying in my head. I wrote that clue down first. Then I wrote the second one beneath it. Sienna's caption mentioned drama, but the comments kept asking what happened before the clip. Seeing the two lines together changed how they felt. They were no longer odd moments floating separately. They were connected points. A line was forming, and I didn't like where it pointed. The more I watched people, the less I listened to their conclusions. Conclusions are easy to manufacture. Behavior is harder to edit. Someone who believes they have already won forgets to hide impatience. Someone who is afraid of a question usually answers too quickly. Someone who has practiced a lie often sounds calm until you ask about the wrong detail. That's how Kylie avoided my eyes after the first 1,000 views became important. I had almost dismissed it because it seemed too small for the size of what I felt. But small things are where people get careless. Big lies are rehearsed. Small lies are improvised, and improvisation leaves fingerprints. I didn't tell everyone what I was noticing. I had made that mistake before, offering my suspicions too early and watching people use them to prepare better answers. This time, I kept quiet. I let them think I was overwhelmed. I let them mistake my silence for defeat. Keeping quiet didn't feel noble. It felt lonely. There were moments when I wanted to call someone and pour out every thought, every suspicion, every humiliating fear. But I had learned that a half-formed truth can be dangerous in the wrong hands, so I waited until the facts had bones. The fourth clue gave the truth its shape. Aunt Marla texted me a screenshot and asked whether I wanted her to handle it or just breathe with me. I remember staring at it longer than necessary, as if the detail might apologize for being important. Instead, it sat there calmly, refusing to become less real just because I was tired. That's when I started to understand the difference between a twist in a story and a twist in your life. In a story, the reveal can feel exciting. In your life, the reveal feels like your stomach dropping because every memory behind you starts rearranging itself. Scenes you thought you understood begin changing meaning without asking permission. I thought back to the beginning, to the first moment my daughter secretly recorded me crying on vacation. She uploaded the video, without realizing the internet would take my side. I had been so focused on surviving the embarrassment of the scene that I had missed how staged parts of it felt. Real confusion scatters. This situation had directed my attention too neatly toward the conclusion someone wanted me to reach. Once I saw that, I started asking different questions. Not what did this look like, but who benefited from it looking that way. Not why was I upset, but who needed my reaction to become the main issue. Not why did the facts feel incomplete, but who kept taking pieces off the table. Those questions changed everything. They made me less interested in defending my character and more interested in studying the machinery around the lie. Every situation has machinery. The person who starts the rumor, the person who repeats it, the person who benefits quietly, and the person everyone pressures to stay calm so the machine can keep running. I saw my own role too. I had been cast as the emotional one, the difficult one, the person whose pain could be used as evidence against them. Once I recognized the role, I stopped performing it. I didn't become colder. I became more precise. Precision isn't dramatic, but it is powerful. I checked dates twice. I saved messages. I asked for copies instead of explanations. I repeated questions exactly when people tried to answer different ones. I learned that a calm question asked twice can scare someone more than an accusation shouted once. By the time Kylie found out the truth when the internet did something neither of us expected. People slowed the clip down, noticed the payment receipt on the dryer beside me, and started asking why a mother was crying alone while teenagers filmed her. I was ready in a way I hadn't been at the beginning. Ready didn't mean unafraid. It meant I had stopped needing the truth to be gentle before I accepted it. I had been crying because Ben's late support payment had finally arrived after I used credit to pay for the trip he had promised to help with. I wasn't crying because the vacation was imperfect. I was crying because I was tired of making broken promises look seamless for my child. Even then, my mind tried to protect me by looking for softer interpretations. Maybe there had been pressure. Maybe there had been panic. Maybe the people involved had convinced themselves they were doing what they had to do. Those maybes didn't erase the evidence. They only explained how people live with themselves while doing harm. The room after the reveal felt different from the room before it. Before, everyone had been managing me. After, they were managing exposure. Their priorities changed so quickly it almost made me dizzy. Suddenly people cared about privacy, tone, context, and whether this was the right time to discuss facts they had been perfectly happy to weaponize when the facts seemed pointed at me. I let them talk because talking revealed more than silence would have. One person contradicted another. Someone remembered a date differently. Someone blamed stress. Someone said they had only been trying to help. I had never realized how many costumes a lie could wear once the lights came on. What I didn't do was give them the explosion they wanted. An explosion would have let them point at my anger and skip over what caused it, so I kept my hands still, even when I wanted to shake. I kept my voice level, even when every sentence had to climb over grief to leave my mouth. The comments turned against the joke. Kylie apologized, but I made her understand that apology wasn't a button that deleted humiliation. People love to imagine that payoff moments feel like fireworks. Mine felt more like the power coming back on after a storm. The lights worked again, but the house was still a mess. There were branches in the yard, water under the door, and a long list of things that needed repair. The days afterward were quieter and harder than the reveal. During the crisis, adrenaline gives you instructions. Afterward, you have to decide what to do with all the rooms inside yourself that were rearranged by someone else's lie. I had to learn how to stop arguing with people who weren't in the room anymore. Some mornings, I woke up angry all over again, not at the main event, but at the smaller humiliations around it. The pitying looks, the advice to be reasonable. The way people who hadn't asked one real question still felt qualified to judge how I carried the truth. Other mornings, I felt almost peaceful. Those were the mornings when I remembered that I hadn't abandoned myself. I had been frightened, yes. Confused, yes. Hurt, definitely. But some stubborn part of me had kept watching, kept writing things down, kept believing that reality didn't become rude just because someone preferred the lie. I chose not to shame her back because I wanted her to learn what she had done, not learn how to become better at hiding it. That lesson didn't make me invincible. It made me harder to rush. Now, when something feels wrong, I don't immediately accuse and I don't immediately dismiss myself. I observe, I wait, I gather. I let the truth approach in its own ugly, necessary shape. If I sound calmer now, it is because time has put distance between me and the first shock. But I can still reach back and feel the old version of myself standing there, trying to understand what was happening while everyone else acted like the answer had already been decided. I wish I could tell that version one thing: you aren't wrong just because you are outnumbered. The ending didn't give me everything back. Some trust doesn't regrow in the same soil. Some relationships become names you recognize instead of places you can rest. But I gained something I had needed for a long time: the ability to hear my own perception clearly, even when other people raised their voices over it. That's why I tell the story from inside the moment instead of only from the twist. The twist matters, but the slow discovery matters more. It shows how a person can be guided toward the wrong conclusion, how fear can be used as stage lighting, and how the truth, when finally found, feels less like surprise and more like recognition. Truth did not come out because I made a statement. It came out because Sienna tried to make a second video. By noon, the comments under the first clip had stopped being amused. People were asking what happened before the recording. Someone had circled the receipt on the dryer in a screenshot. Someone else caught the name Ben on my phone before the camera angle dropped. Kylie sat at the breakfast table scrolling with her shoulders hunched, her cereal turning soft in the bowl. "Turn it off," I said. "I can't," she whispered. Sienna stood by the sliding glass door with her phone in both hands. She had glossy hair, a perfect beach sweatshirt, and the restless look of a person watching controls slip away in real time. "We should just explain," she said. "Explain what?" I asked. She looked at Kylie, not me. "That your mom gets like this, that you were joking, that everyone is being weird." Kylie's face went pale. That was the moment I understood Sienna was not embarrassed because she had hurt me. She was embarrassed because strangers had refused to laugh on cue. My phone rang before I could answer. Ben's name filled the screen. The room went quiet except for the ocean thudding beyond the balcony doors. I put him on speaker. "Rachel," he said, already irritated, "you need to get this handled. People are tagging me." Kylie looked up. "Handled how?" I asked. "Tell them the money thing is private. Tell them you overreacted. This makes me look terrible." Something in me went cold and still. "You told Kylie I used money to make you look bad," I said. Ben sighed. "I told her you dramatize things, which you do. I was late, not absent. You were late after promising to help pay for this trip. I didn't tell you to book a beach house." Kylie flinched. It was small, but I saw it. The trip she had been calling embarrassing and cheap all week had suddenly become something her father had not helped provide at all. Sienna's phone was still angled in her hand. "Are you recording this too?" I asked her. She lowered it too fast. Kylie stared at her. "Were you?" "No," Sienna said. The lie was immediate and bad. A notification sound betrayed her before anyone else could. Her screen lit with a draft upload. That was the second twist. Sienna had been preparing another clip, not to fix the first one, but to turn our argument into part 2. Kylie stood so quickly her chair scraped the tile. "Delete it. Kylie, delete it, now." For the first time all week, my daughter sounded like herself and not like the girl she performed around Sienna. Her hands were shaking, but she did not sit down. Sienna deleted the draft while Ben kept talking from the speaker, still worried about comments, still not asking whether his daughter was okay. Kylie looked at the phone, then at me, and something childish in her face cracked open. "Dad didn't pay?" she asked. I shook my head. The ocean kept hitting the shore outside. Inside, the whole house felt suddenly bare. I also learned that an apology from your child can hurt almost as much as the betrayal, because you can hear every age they have ever been inside it. Kylie apologized that night on the porch while the ocean moved in the dark beyond the dunes. Her face was blotchy from crying, her phone dead on the table between us. For once, Sienna was not beside her. Ben had stopped answering after Aunt Marla. My sister, with a voice like a locked gate, sent him screenshots of the comments asking why his payments were late. The second twist came from Kylie herself. She admitted Ben had told her I exaggerated money problems to make him look bad. He had told her the trip was my way of proving I was the fun parent, even though he was the one paying. Sienna had heard enough of that story to think humiliating me would be easy content. I thought you were just being dramatic, Kylie whispered. I was tired, I said. Those are not the same thing. The video came down, but I did not let Kylie pretend deletion was repair. The next morning, I made her sit beside me at the small kitchen table while we wrote messages, one to Sienna's parents, one to Ben, one to Aunt Marla, and one private statement Kylie posted without jokes, filters, or excuses. The internet moved on faster than we did. It always does. But inside that beach house, something slower had to be rebuilt. On our last morning, Kylie knocked on my bedroom door before sunrise. She had 2 mugs of instant coffee and a folded beach towel under one arm. Do you want to walk? She asked. We went down to the shore while the sky was still gray. She did not try to hold my hand. I did not reach for hers. We walked side by side, letting the cold water run over our feet, and for once neither of us filled the silence with a performance. At the trash bins near the rental, Kylie took the little phone tripod Sienna had left behind and dropped it into the garbage. Then she looked at me, eyes swollen but steady, and picked up the cooler without being asked. The truth did not come out because I made a statement. It came out because Sienna tried to make a second video. By noon, the comments under the first clip had stopped being amused. People were asking what happened before the recording. Someone had circled the receipt on the dryer in a screenshot. Someone else caught the name Ben on my phone before the camera angle dropped. Kylie sat at the breakfast table scrolling with her shoulders hunched, her cereal turning soft in the bowl. Turn it off, I said. I can't, she whispered. Sienna stood by the sliding glass door with her phone in both hands. She had glossy hair, a perfect beach sweatshirt, and the restless look of a person watching controls slip away in real time. We should just explain, she said. Explain what? I asked. She looked at Kylie, not me. That your mom gets like this, that you were joking, that everyone is being weird. Kylie's face went pale. That was the moment I understood Sienna was not embarrassed because she had hurt me. She was embarrassed because strangers had refused to laugh on cue. My phone rang before I could answer. Ben's name filled the screen. The room went quiet except for the ocean thudding beyond the balcony doors. I put him on speaker. Rachel, he said, already irritated, you need to get this handled. People are tagging me. Kylie looked up. Handled how? I asked. Tell them the money thing is private. Tell them you overreacted. This makes me look terrible. Something in me went cold and still. You told Kylie I used money to make you look bad, I said. Ben sighed. I told her you dramatize things, which you do. I was late, not absent. You were late after promising to help pay for this trip. Didn't tell you to book a beach house. Kylie flinched. It was small, but I saw it. The trip she had been calling embarrassing and cheap all week had suddenly become something her father had not helped provide at all. Sienna's phone was still angled in her hand. Are you recording this too? I asked her. She lowered it too fast. Kylie stared at her. Were you? No, Sienna said. The lie was immediate and bad. A notification sound betrayed her before anyone else could. Her screen lit with a draft upload. That was the second twist. Sienna had been preparing another clip, not to fix the first one, but to turn our argument into part 2. Kylie stood so quickly her chair scraped the tile. Delete it. Kylie, delete it. Now. For the first time all week, my daughter sounded like herself and not like the girl she performed around Sienna. Her hands were shaking, but she did not sit down. Sienna deleted the draft while Ben kept talking from the speaker, still worried about comments, still not asking whether his daughter was okay. Kylie looked at the phone, then at me, and something childish in her face cracked open. Dad didn't pay? She asked. I shook my head. The ocean kept hitting the shore outside. Inside, the whole house felt suddenly bare.